about to begin the QB Power Hour webinar series, your bi-weekly dose of insights and learning for accounting professionals with co-host Dan DeLong and along with Matthew Spot Fulton. We're here to explore the latest in the industry, QuickBooks, and integrations that matter to you. For more details on the series, visit qbpowerhour.com. Before we get started with the main content, we want to cover a few housekeeping tips. Any handouts or resources mentioned today will be provided for download, so no frantic note-taking required. If you miss anything or want to revisit a section, don't worry, video and audio replays of this live webinar will be available after the session. For everyone joining us live on Zoom, please use the Q&A panel for content-specific questions so we can address them directly during the session or follow up later. If you've got general comments or want to chat with your fellow attendees, use the chat feature. We love seeing your thoughts and reactions. So let's get started.
Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event.
And always, it doesn't go right to the next slide. Welcome. No. Why does it do that, Sharon? Why does it do that? I don't know why. Well, welcome everybody to another QB Power Hour. Today's topic is we're going to be closing those conversion gaps from desktop to online with Method. And last time we had a pretty good discussion on the conversion options in natively, and now we're going to be talking about some of those feature gaps that are different between the two platforms and how Method can fill those gaps. So welcome again. My name is Dan DeLong, owner of Danwith and School of Bookkeeping, worked at Intuit for nearly 18 years and co-hosting today, as well as the workshop Wednesdays over at School of Bookkeeping. Just finished the next edition of the QBO for Dummies tech editing, which it's been a really interesting thing this year with all of the user interface changes to try to keep that up to date. But that should be going to print soon. Speaking of going to print soon, Sharon, tell us about your book.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it yet, but it's okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Forget what I just said.
I wrote a book. I'm excited. I actually wrote the book, like not a ghostwriter or anything. And it's really, it's called Unfollow the Rules. And it's my career journey and to where I'm at now with only a 3-day work week while running multiple companies. So really, I'm really excited about it. There's going to be a launch right before QuickBooks Connect. So we need like 200 people. So keep an eye out for that.
All right. And joining us from the team Method, Mattis, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Dan. Hey, everybody on the webinar. Thank you so much for having Method and myself here. I'm the content lead at Method. I've been in the, let's call it QuickBooks app ecosystem for a long time, since 2017. If people are familiar with this unpronounceable last name that you're seeing on the screen, maybe you heard about me through Relay Financial. I was there pretty early. Have also worked across payroll apps and helped businesses with all kinds of migrations. Fun fact, I'm going through my first ever corporate tax filings for a small little side hustle that I have, and it's been really illuminating to see up close what kind of truly gets done in QuickBooks. So that's me.
Well, thanks for joining us. And if I can if we can do anything to talk about Yusuf today, he is the Dan DeLong of Method. So if you need to understand, we have a kindred spirit in our journeys from company employee to consultant. So Yusuf, talk a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Dan, for that intro. I feel like our paths were meant to cross since our paths also are very similar. So, if you guys haven't seen me before on Dan's Workshop Wednesdays, I'm Yusuf Al Hakim. I was a former lead solutions consultant at Method CRM from the years 2015 to 2021. I learned a ton there. Method CRM was the best experience I ever had in my life. Just working for them and what I've learned, you have to wear many hats, and it really elevated my game. And I acquired a lot of cool skill sets there. And in the middle of COVID, I decided I wanted to go and check out, the biggest, baddest wolf on the block in the CRM space, which is Salesforce. So I worked for the Salesforce business group at Accenture for about 3.5 years. And when I was there, I realized very quickly this is not, not what I wanted to do. It's not exactly what I envisioned. So then I came back as as a method partner, and that's when I realized that's where my true passion lies, is helping people, who run businesses on QuickBooks streamline their operations. And yeah, I've been doing that since 2015. So
Awesome.
thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining. We do have some other folks from Method doing some Q&A. So if you do have specific questions about the functionality that we're talking about today, please ask those in the Q&A, and any deeper dive questions about functionality of Method, they can address or follow up later. A little bit about the QB Power Hours every other Tuesday. Our CPE is done through Earmark, so you'll see that see this one in about a week or so on our Earmark channel there. And we also have the PDFs of all of the webinars, re-recordings, and other resources at qbpowerhour.com/resources. So our agenda today is we're going to be doing a little bit of the Intuit news. We'll talk a little bit about Bill Pay Basic in all QBO subscriptions and what that might mean. And then we'll really just kind of reintroduce the world to Method, because that was my interaction last QB Connect. We'll talk about what is Method. We'll highlight some desktop conversion gaps that can be overcome and bridged between the two platforms, desktop and QuickBooks Desktop and online, by using Method. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you can partner as an accountant or bookkeeper or referral partner with Method. So I'm tossing this over to Sharon because I always seem to be poll question challenged. So Sharon's going to launch the first poll question. And while she's getting that up, we're just going to run right into the Intuit news portions, because we want to make sure that we have enough time in our hour today. So if you hadn't noticed, Bill Pay Basic is being added to all subscriptions. So here's what's happening. So all new subscriptions will come pre-set, I guess is the probably the nicest way to say it, with a Bill Pay Basic subscription. And we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about QB payments is kind of half set up when you start a new subscription, which just makes it easier to discover the service, and kind of a proof of concept when it's it's easy to use, and then all you have to do is then set it up after that. The customer does need to acknowledge and finish the banking setup because there is money movement involved. And so creating a subscription inside of QuickBooks Online Accountant will create this shareable link. So if you've gone through the QBOA portal, added a new client. You've probably seen this. But what you probably didn't see is the email that gets sent to. I can hear your eye rolling, Sharon, from here.
We know I have strong opinions. Cannot wait to see the chat, but you go right ahead.
Right. So what happens is the email or the primary admin will get an email which says your accountant invites you to activate bill pay. Whether or not you really want them to set it up or not, that's another story. And this is actually a softened version of what originally first came out, where it was more personal, saying, hey, you recommend QuickBooks Bill Pay, which is certainly not always true. So whether you invite them to do this or not, this email is going to go out. So one workaround or one option is to make yourself the primary admin before this email comes out, so you get it and not the client, if that is your intention. Or to just be aware that this email is going to go out, and communicate with your client proactively. So if you are a bill.com person, or some other spending platform or bill payment solution is your preferred and not QuickBooks Bill Pay, I'm just letting you trying to make you aware that this is happening, and we can pivot appropriately. Move that couch up the stairs.
Dan, I'm going to create a template, a Zapier template that everybody can use, that will automate a counter email to your client. Says, hey, you probably just got this email. Despite what it says, I do not recommend. It was not me, but do what you like either way. Thank you. I'll get that out to you guys. Don't you worry. I can hear
the deliverance music playing back and forth, the dueling email bill payment solutions.
Yeah, there we go.
But that's the main thing, is we just want to make sure that you all are aware that this is occurring. Of course, if you don't like it, put in the feedback, and at some point in the future, we hope they will respond to that, because they did respond to the first one, iteration of like, hey, I don't actually recommend this, and please don't, put words in my mouth that me as the accountant is recommending that you sign up for the service, whether or not that's the case. All right, so it looks like, let's quickly share the results of our first poll. Both is about 80%. So this is great, because Method is one of those solutions that works with both QuickBooks Online and Desktop, and works really well.
One of the few remaining.
Right.
Good job.
And that was my experience with Method when I worked there, is that I knew of Method. And because there was this CRM initials at the end of it, I really didn't understand, what it was. And in my initial rediscovery of what Method was it boils down to I was looking for a solution, and it was actually timed pretty perfectly, because it was at Intuit Connect when this situation came up. Client who had converted from desktop to online needed a custom column in their invoice, and lo and behold, nobody, not even Intuit, allows you to add a custom column to invoices until I finally found Method as this option. So we'll unpack that a little bit later when we talk about some of the customizations that you can do. But let's just first reintroduce folks to what Method actually is. So Mattis, you want to go through these next few?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. For anybody who is either new to Method, or maybe you've heard of Method but not quite sure what exactly it does, it is a CRM that, unlike, I'd say, the overwhelming majority, I don't want to say all other CRMs, unlike all CRMs, it is built specifically to work with QuickBooks. In the way that it has been designed is to match all of the different logic and the different items that you have inside QuickBooks, and extend their capabilities on the CRM side. But I should also say that it is not just a CRM. So we will look at this a little bit more closely as we go through the webinar, but the capabilities extend beyond managing your sales team into things like work orders, things like custom workflows from the point of estimate and quote and invoice collection. You can have any kind of automations that you could really come up with within the platform. And so it's fully customizable to your needs, to your clients' needs. And one of the main reasons why companies choose Method and why they stay with Method is because of this underlying customization capability that Yusuf is going to help us take a closer look at. So when you first open it out of the box, you can see whether there's value in it for you or not. But as you grow and as your needs expand as a business, it is able to adapt to those. And it is always able to communicate back to that general ledger in a really, really solid, reliable way. And Dan, actually, if you go to the next slide, there's a little video. So people sometimes don't quite know, what does that mean? It's two-way sync with QuickBooks. Well, we have a demonstration here of what it looks like. So if I go into Method here from my QuickBooks account, and I'm going to just create an estimate. So we pick out a customer that is synced back to QuickBooks. We look at our items list. Again, this is all coming directly from QuickBooks. We're going to set a quantity here. We've got a rate, and then save this, and we'll see the price update. And now that it has been saved, I go back to my QuickBooks account and refresh here, and instantly that estimate is created inside of QuickBooks with a pending status. And that, by the way, works both ways. So if I were to create something in QuickBooks, that would automatically show up in Method. And here you can imagine a salesperson maybe sending out this estimate to the client, and that's either through SMS or email. SMS being super important if you're maybe in trades or something similar. And then what you'll see here is the video is going to actually take a look at what the client sees once they get the estimate. So here they're going to open up that estimate that they just got and can actually accept it directly from the platform. So pop in a signature there. You could also collect payment if you wanted to. But now that estimate has been accepted. So we're going to jump back into QuickBooks in just a second. And in real time, that status is going to update. And again, we'll see in the next slide, this happens across all of the items and across both QuickBooks and Desktop. But you can also, importantly, control when and how it happens. So now we're converting this estimate into an invoice. We just save that, but you'll see in the invoices, it is not going to show up. You won't see that 175 just yet because we've actually decided to hold that sync. And it's the status here says pending sync approval. So we're going to uncheck this, resave the invoice, and you'll see that showing up in your QuickBooks account, ready to go. So syncs both ways, syncs instantly, and you can actually control when and how it syncs. Really, really powerful if you need that deep integration between your workflows and your QuickBooks account. Then if you jump to the next slide, we can actually take a look at which things sync. That's the question that we usually get from people. So if you look at the breakdown here, I'm not going to read every single thing, but just starting with the Desktop side, customers, vendors, employees, estimates, invoices, sales receipts, advanced pricing, payments, sales orders, sales reps, purchase orders, items, transactions, estimates to invoices. Obviously a little bit less on the online side because some of the features differ and some of the features don't transition or convert, depending on how you want to put it, back into the QuickBooks Online side. But Method will tackle all of those and actually more, depending on how you want to set it up. But crucially, if you look on the rightmost side here, it actually extends the functionality of QuickBooks with contacts, leads and opportunities, activities and tasks, work orders. Super important if you are thinking about your client not just sending out estimates and getting invoices back and payments, but actually implementing that work with maybe some field service reps, or maybe they have a complex workflow, and you want all of that work to be accurately reflected back into whatever is happening in QuickBooks. In terms of the items, in terms of the estimates, the invoices, any adjustments. all of that is going to be piped back because these elements inside of method can be connected within the other elements inside of method. We already saw the customer portal, documents and attachments. I mean, the custom fields, the list goes on and on and on. The thing I think that we're going to talk about today is if you look on the desktop side and the online side, you're thinking in terms of that general ledger and that platform. But you should also consider the fact that all these things exist inside of method itself, meaning that if you want to do something with, let's say, sales orders or sales reps, and you have that functionality, you want it in QuickBooks Online, you can build things out within method to use it as a workaround in order to bridge that gap. Or alternatively, if you do not want to maybe bridge that gap yet, you have a client and they're saying, look, I got desktop, I have all these things that I love inside desktop, but I wish that I could maybe enable some of my field crew that has to go out and service clients, and I want them to give me accurate data back to my desktop, but I obviously don't want them to be portaling in remotely while they're on site somewhere into my accounting. You can also do that. So you can kind of navigate this dynamic between desktop and online with method as the stopgap, whether you want to stick with the desktop or whether you want to transition into an online space. And I think that's what we're going to look at a deeper level in the next few slides.
Yeah, there's so many weeds that we could probably find ourselves in with what you can do with method. But I mean, the thing that is really impressing me the more and more that I learn about method is, when we see apps, go around vendor floors at an accounting conference and says works with QuickBooks. It really, the devil is always in the details of how that occurs, right? And yes, it may integrate with QuickBooks, but in such a way that you're kind of cutting off some of the QuickBooks workflows that might be necessary, right? If things come in as a journal entry, then that may interrupt the sales tax workflows that you might have already set up inside of QuickBooks. So if there is, I think the bottom line here is, if there is a one-to-one relationship with whether it's QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online, these things synchronize back and forth, right? And it's bi-directional. And that's the thing that I have been really impressed with. And then that is just really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what you can do, because now you have all of these other built-in features that are native to QuickBooks. And then you have the potential of working with somebody like Yosef, who could then interpret and be the method whisperer to allow you to make these customizations, do whatever it is that you might want to do, right? So he's the interpreter of make a wish, and he's the genie of method.
You're putting me too high on the pedestal. There's also Method has their own professional services team where I originally came from. They're also amazing over there as well. So you got the Method partners and you got the professional service team as well.
Yeah, that's a great point now.
Dan,
so let's go ahead.
Maybe one thing that I wanted to add, final thing, based on what you were saying, it just wanted to add in that Method is built from the ground up for QuickBooks. As a matter of fact, if you want to use Method as a CRM, you have to have a QuickBooks account. That is how deeply connected it is. You cannot actually use it if you don't have a QuickBooks account. So I just wanted to stress that point. Yeah.
So conjoined twins separate at birth. I get it. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about some of the feature limitations that occur when you're transferring from desktop to online. We'll just be talking about the layout designer, talk about some user permissions, some email limitations that might be surprising because they were to me, and then some price levels and advanced pricing. So let's jump into some of these gaps, right? So layout designer, right? So QBO, as you're probably well aware, has a pretty severe limitation on the sales form customizations. It's very limited. and since Intuit last year has changed to this new modern invoice experience, they've kind of had to take a step back to move forward, right? So they wanted to add some more functionality around some of the invoicing options that you had, but they had to do that in a way that kind of reimagined or repurposed the invoicing screen. So everybody had to get on that before they could actually add more functionality. So we're in this grace period now where we're on both sides of that with some of your clients, and you're gonna see until everybody gets on the new platform, the new experience of invoicing and estimate, you're gonna see this limitation until everybody's there, right? So there's only simple forms, or only certain forms, and those changes are simple. Modern is the only new option, and layout designer from desktop is really just not a thing. If you're unfamiliar with desktop, and for it looks like 14% of you only use QuickBooks Online, so a layout designer is something it's very powerful in that you can rename, relabel pretty much anything on all printable forms, right? So your purchase transactions, your statements, your things like that. However you want to resize or position, change the font. You can even download templates from others to give you a starting point, because you can always tell people who use QuickBooks for invoicing, because they always have that kind of look and feel to it, right? As soon as you get an emailed invoice from QuickBooks Desktop, it's like, I know. You haven't customized your sales form. All right. So Yusuf, talk about some of the customizations that you can do to basically mirror the functionality of the layout designer in desktop.
Yeah, so Method, they also have their own form of a layout designer. It's called the Method Web Report Designer. Actually, back when I was working, they had a desktop form of it too, where you can download locally to your computer, but they've gone away with that, and now it's basically only accessible on the web, which is nice. And it is extremely, extremely robust. It is incredible, this tool. Once you learn how to use it, you can pretty much build anything one-to-one. In the past decade that I've been on Method, it's been very, very rare. It does happen, but it's been very rare where someone would ask me to build something for them on a template, and I flat out told them no, it's not feasible. The way this report designer works is it's split up in sections. So you'll see the report designer is right there on the left, and then what it actually renders is on the right. So on the left, it shows you, that the document is set up of components. You have your header, your margins, your detail, as well as your sub detail. And you can pretty much just put in whatever you'd like, whether it's like, plain text static information, or if you actually wanted to drag and drop fields from both QuickBooks and Method onto the template. That way it's dynamic. And you could essentially just make this extremely robust. So this is an example of one for a general contracting company that I work with. And this is something that they wanted to have replicated in Method. And Dan, I think the neat thing is really on the next slide, if you don't mind going to that. So they also wanted to add like a pamphlet as a part of their estimate. So for each one of their estimates on a second page or on the initial page, they also wanted to have basically an introduction to the sales rep that's responsible for the deal, as well as a brief background on their business. And this was something that simply could not be done in QuickBooks. So they were wondering if this is something that we could do in Method. So with a single click of a button, we basically were able to, in one document, generate this pamphlet as the first page, and what you saw on the previous slide as the second page. And then it dynamically pulls in the sales rep that's attached to the estimate. So that picture of Chris Williams that you see at the bottom there, if it was another sales rep, you would see that sales rep's picture at the bottom there. So that footer in the dark blue section is all dynamic information that is pulling from the estimate. What's up top is simply static information, plain text that they wanted to have on there just to talk about their company. So this was a huge plus for them.
Yeah, you see, like, I mean, you think of all of these kind of use cases where, they butt up against the glass ceiling of, sorry, Sharon, with that glass wallet. But they butt up against the top of limitations of things that they can do. It's like, yeah, there's kind of workarounds with that. Like if you wanted to do that, you could attach PDF to an invoice in QuickBooks and email all of those attachments. But doing something like making it dynamic of who actually is sending it out, as kind of like a signature of the first one is the kinds of things that you're able to tap into when you're implementing or adding this on. Yes, if you want to make one big PDF of long-term terms and conditions and all of those things that go along with that, that's possible too. The long text disclaimers, I've constantly been adding or having that conversation with like we have some things that we want to send along with our invoices, and yes, you'd have to essentially attach it each time and send it, but here's something where you can streamline those processes.
Yeah, anything dynamic. I'm all about dynamic. Anything I have to do more than once, I find some way to do it again. So when I see that you can program that in, I'm over here back here just thinking all the things that I'm going to do as soon as we're off of this.
and I think that is probably where Method gets a little intimidating to some folks, because it's that it's very easy just to see customize the screen on the from a drop down, and then you see like underneath the hood, and then like, oh, I don't want to touch it. But that is kind of and Mattis, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's really what Method is really all about, making those things available to folks to be able to modify, and there's a whole team of folks that can help with that.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. And there is, I think, as with any piece of software, there is a learning curve. And I would say because Method is so powerful, genuinely, I've seen things built in Method that I don't know if any other CRM or workflow tool, especially one that caters to the QuickBooks audience, I haven't seen them capable of anything remotely close. There is a component where, yeah, there's a bunch of concepts that you kind of have to get familiar with, but also some people don't have the interest, right? Or maybe they just don't have in their circumstances, they don't want to get familiar with those concepts. But that's why we have folks like Yusuf, and why we also have a professional services team where you can engage them to help you build those things out. And so that's how we enable you to do DIY it if you want, but we also have both partner resources and internal resources to help you if you can't.
Yeah, because with the situation that I was dealing with at Intuit Connect, I was able to work with their internal support, and they were be able to, well, I can give you the concept here, but you might have to talk to a customization expert, and that's really all part of your onboarding process. Yes, you have a true 14-day free trial for anybody starting it up, and the onboarding is phenomenal, because you immediately connect it to your QuickBooks so you can see that bi-directional exchange. And first step is talk to somebody at Method to kind of get an idea of what it is that you want to use Method for. So you're already setting up that touch, the communication with working with a real human, and then included in your onboarding is a 1 hour talking with the customization team. So in my situation, that was all able to be done within that 1 hour of what they needed, and they could be on their way. Now, we had Yusuf on our workshop webinar, so he talks a little bit more in depth with custom form styles. So just want to make sure you had that available there. So let's move on to user permissions. This is kind of a has been a pretty a thorn inside, I think, especially if you're coming from enterprise, where you have probably one of the most granularities when it comes to custom roles and permissions and security. And then you come into QuickBooks Online, especially if it's Online Plus or below, Simple Start or Essentials or Plus. The non-advanced versions are severely limited, right? Like you have these roles, and QuickBooks and Intuit is making additional roles, but those roles are not really customizable. So hopefully there is a preset role with all of the permissions that you happen to want to have happen inside of QuickBooks for all of your people. And then even if those restrictions do exist, I keep getting pinged from people like, well, they can see this in in their QuickBooks. And so this is kind of the situation that a lot of people find themselves in. So Yusuf or Mattis, you want to talk about what this what adding method will allow people to do?
Yeah, I can take it away, Mattis, if you'd like, and you can feel free to add on with whatever. So, method out of the box, it's pretty robust with flexibility when it comes to just giving the right access for the right personas or users in method. So the biggest value add, and Dan, you mentioned this earlier on, and same with you, Mattis, is the fact that you could take away users in your QuickBooks that really shouldn't be touching your accounting file, right? That is kind of the holy grail. No one really should be playing around in there. So method, it's solving that problem for you by taking, your sales reps, your dispatcher, if you're for a field services team, your operations manager, all of them are now able to still access the elements of QuickBooks within method and with the right permissions. So maybe you want someone to be able to just see estimates but not be able to edit them. You could do that in method. Maybe you want someone to be able to only approve estimates. Let's say it's like a C-suite level for the company. You only want them to be able to approve estimates. That's something you can do. This is customizing. You can set certain power users in method for your business and say, hey, you're going to be in charge of customizing just this part of method, this app, right? So that's given to you out of the box. On top of that, the beauty of method is that not only does it give you the app level, but also the record level access. So record level access meaning maybe you don't want everyone seeing all of everyone's records, right? Maybe you're saying, hey, listen, I want this sales rep to only focus on their estimates. I don't want them to be able to see estimates for another sales rep. When they look at the reporting for estimates, it should only be reporting on their own estimates, not everyone else's, right? Because that's all they really are concerned of. So you're also given that as a security permission and method where you're only going to be able to see your own data if you want it configured that way. Then another thing that is really, really cool, which I find is kind of like where you're kind of going over the edge now with custom, like with the ability of taking the power out of QuickBooks and putting a method, is field level security. So you can actually control if someone's looking at an estimate and you say, hey, listen, I want them to see everything, but I don't want them to see the amounts, or I don't want them to see the quantities or whatever the case may be. I don't want them to see this custom field that we set up. You can actually customize method for that specific user or groups of users to not see that particular field or set of fields. So you now have, as a summary, the app level access, which is the highest level, then the record level access, and then finally the field level access. So that is something as well that you're given. So that's kind of my explanation and why I feel like Method is extremely robust when it comes to stuff like this. Mattis, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
Thank you, Dan. The video is actually very helpful. This is just a cursory overview of some of the permission levels and things that you can manage. But there's even more. Like you can add additional things if you build, custom apps or custom setups here. I would just stress the concept of separating duties is I mean, we all know it's a core piece of how to run and scale a business. Only specific people should be looking at specific areas. Not to say that people need to have restrictions for one reason or another, but it's just about to focus the energy and also to focus the interface. Like I've had conversations with Method customers who said, look, we actually thought about giving our field reps and kind of like our warehouse people access to the QuickBooks Desktop file because they would need to update certain things. But like, even if we know that they're not, they don't want to do anything malicious in there, regardless, it's just, this isn't an interface or a thing that they should even have to think about, right? What they might need is just a simple mobile app, and you can restrict them to that. Or maybe they just need a specific dashboard, and you can restrict them to that. And the nice thing about Method too is you will actually get pricing advantages as a result of this. So if you have users who only need to use specific things, the clients or your business is only going to be paying for those things. You're not going to have this entire package kind of forced on you. You can really pick and choose, and it is really, really transparent. Like the pricing is on the website. You can kind of design your own package there. But yeah, that's all I would add to this.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to kind of discuss at this point while we're launching this second polling question about what makes user permissions most important in your clientele is we kind of talked about this being a CRM, and we've mentioned the word Salesforce, and immediately I think people will be like, holy crap, what is this going to cost me and my customer? Your pricing model is about the users that you have and the access that they have to, right? So talk a little bit about the pricing model of Method itself.
Yeah, for sure. So it's exactly what you said. We have specific sets of applications, and you can opt into those applications. You can subscribe to them, and you can subscribe specific users to those applications. And they can range from $15 a month up to 80 plus, depending on how many different things you're adding on to it, or to a really custom solutions altogether. If you're, for example, managing a multi-entity setup, which is another thing related to permissions. If you think about, you've got multiple companies on QuickBooks files, you want to connect all of them, but you want to restrict access. Maybe HQ needs to see everybody, but then the individual entities don't need to see each other. That type of thing is also possible. But yeah, in terms of the scope of the pricing, the best example that I can give is dispatcher versus field techs, right? If you have a dispatcher who needs to manage everything inside of a dashboard, schedule work orders, flow in different items to different customers, talk to customers, they're going to need more functionality. But your field crew maybe just needs to go on site. They need to go through a workflow checklist, and they need to get a signature, right? They don't need the dashboards. All they need is a mobile app. So they will only be paying for the mobile app per user, versus the dispatcher will be only paying for the apps that individual is using. So again, I won't get into pricing too deeply, but it's all on the website and our help documentation, transparent for everybody if they want to make their own calculations.
Yeah, it's I mean, that was one of the big detractors for like a Salesforce, is it's like the NetSuite of CRMs, in that there's this big price tag that comes along with it, and then you're going to pay an even bigger price tag to somebody to implement it and set it up. Not always the case with regards to Method. I mean, I have a couple clients that are just one or two users. They just need it for a certain solution, and they're paying less between the combination of what they would have had to spend with QuickBooks Online Advanced and a lower version of QuickBooks. And augmenting QuickBooks with Method. So they're actually saving money by adding a CRM, which you probably don't hear too much in the CRM space. All right, so let's move on to emailing out of QuickBooks. So the last couple use cases here. So I'm going to go ahead and share the results while we're talking about this. So in QuickBooks Online, there's always that from address that comes from QuickBooks. So like when you email invoices or really anything out of QuickBooks, the default from address is notifications at quickbooks.intuit.com, and then it's kind of pseudo masked as your email address because it's with your contact information. So it'll say, Sharon Fuller sent you an invoice or a payment request, but the actual address is a QuickBooks email, and that can be filtered. That could get caught in junk or spam or any other places of ways to get intercepted before it actually shows up in someone's inbox. And it comes to find out that QuickBooks has a limitation of outgoing emails to around 800 a day. So yesterday was the first. This was another use case that I discovered in one of my clients, was that they had 3,500 recurring invoices sent out on the first, and realized the first month that not all of them went out. They only got about 800. And then that's where we determined that there actually is this internal limitation of the number of emails that QuickBooks will send out on your behalf. Now, Google, there's an option inside of QuickBooks to associate a Google account or Gmail address with the from address. And then what it actually does is it sends it out of your Gmail. Well, Gmail is not the only web-based email in town. There's another company in Washington that would probably say something about that. Outlook emails are pretty well just as much of a business email as Google. So why do they get the preference? I don't know. But and there's also a limitation on the daily inbox or daily limit in Google. So even if you have associated an email from address in QuickBooks of a Gmail or a Google Workspace, you could still only send 2,000. So this was not an option for this client because one, they were using Outlook email, and two, they had more than 2,000 anyway to go out on one day. So what's the solution, Yusuf, in Method?
Yeah. So Method, they kind of solve many problems that Dan just mentioned with QuickBooks in regards to email deliverability and how many emails you can send per day. So with Method, they offer a pricing model, which is 5,000 emails per month. But any extra email, if you ever wanted to go over that 5,000, you can. Method won't stop you. And what they'll do is they'll actually charge 0.0009 cents per email, which is very, very nominal. So I don't even know what the math to that would be if you want to add like an extra 1,000, right? If you did an extra 1,000 at 0.009, right? It's an extra 90 cents for an extra 1,000 emails. It's very, very, very affordable. So Method doesn't put a limitation on that. Oh, and I see there was an example right there. So I should have probably just opened my eyes a little bit more and read that. So I apologize. But then the other thing is that, a lot of people, and I get this all the time, with a lot of clients that I work with, right away, they see an email that they send out a Method. Method will have that, notifications at method.me, and they're like, hey, can we change that from address to not come from method.me, but from our own company address? I said, sure. Within 5 minutes, we connect them with their own email domain. It's authenticated, and that's it. Any email moving forward for them and their entire team will come from their own company domain, which is huge, right? And then a nice added cherry on top, I guess you would say, that QuickBooks does not offer is the ability for you to actually see your email deliverability performance through an email queue. So you can actually go into Method, and let's say you shot out a massive email campaign and you want to be able to see, how many people opened, clicked, what bounced, or whatnot. Method offers that. You can actually go into the email queue and you can see who received the email, who opened it, who clicked it, what bounced, and you can try resending it again, which is really, really good in terms of just getting, your deliverability up to par. And another thing we didn't mention on this slide, there's also that for SMS. So a lot of people don't realize a lot of people prefer SMS. A lot of clients that I work with, they say, hey, email's nice, but I really want an SMS notification sent out to my customers. Now, obviously, you can do the opt-out option, which I believe Method also handles for you. So if they opt out, they won't be bothered anymore. So there won't be any concerns on that end.
Awesome. And we discussed this also on the workshop. So you've got the access to that on our landing page, as well as if you've downloaded the slides as well. So the last one we want to talk about before we come in for a landing here is price levels and advanced pricing. So the feature limitation is price rules in QuickBooks Online has been in perpetual beta since the feature was introduced. But you do have the ability to do multiple conditions. You can set up a price rule based on a certain customer or type of customer, certain products, add the additional condition of a date, and then you have various rounding rules. So if you want your Walmart pricing always to end in 94 cents or whatever it is that you want it to do, you do have those options. But if you're coming from desktop, well, guess what? You get to start all over, because none of those price levels or price rules that you work so hard to create in desktop will come over. So you're going to have to start from scratch to begin with. So why not start with something that gives you more than what you can do? So Yusuf, if you want to talk a little bit about this, so we have about a couple minutes.
Sure. So this is basically a custom advanced pricing app that I built for Method. And this is mainly for QBO users. So you're missing out on a pretty massive feature, as Dan mentioned, when you go to QuickBooks Online. And that can oftentimes be the deal breaker, the deterrent from going from QBD to QBO. Well, if you decide to add Method as a complementary tool to QuickBooks, you won't have to miss out on features just like this one, right? And you can still go ahead and convert from QBD to QBO. And on the screenshot, I'm not too sure if you're able to see, this is actually particularly one that I wanted to highlight, which was volume-based pricing. So this is something that Dan and I both spoke about, and he mentioned that volume-based pricing is not even available for QuickBooks Online, right? So this is something that you can actually have now in Method that will communicate with your transactions in Method and actually spit out the right prices based off of the quantity tier that you see below. So yeah, it's pretty awesome stuff. Now, another thing I want to conclude with is you don't have to do all this. This is just something that I wanted to basically do copy one-to-one. Method, like I said, is extremely customizable. So if you said, hey, listen, I don't need wholesale-based pricing. I don't need markups. I just need a discount on all of my clients. I wanted just a discount field on the customer profile where I can put in the percentage discount, and that's it. I just want them to be able to get that percentage discount. Within 1 hour, you'll have that implemented in Method. So it's really up to you how far you want to go.
Right. And we talked about that with Yusuf on a workshop, so you can always check out that deeper dive there. So let's talk about how accountants and people who refer other software can partner with Method. Mattis, you want to kind of give us the overview here?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are interested in learning more about Method and then seeing if it makes sense to actually partner up and get some solutions for your clients that extend the power of QuickBooks, we have a dedicated partner team. You may have had one of your Q&A questions actually answered by Yemi, who is on our partner team, and she actually acts as a dedicated partner manager for you if you get paired up with her. So you have somebody to go to for those one-on-one questions and resources. And in terms of the process, I think maybe if we can drop the link into the chat for where people can find the partner program, you can go and check that out. But you will be the first to know about product updates and a lot of the early, really, really interesting stuff that we've been working on this year. You get training and support when it comes to figuring out exactly what is Method, how do we pitch Method to clients, what kind of clients are good for Method, and how do we navigate those conversations. And then, of course, you earn recurring commissions and also get featured in our Find a Partner page. So there's a ton of resources. And if you're thinking about, okay, I have these clients, they have all these platforms that may or may not speak to QuickBooks, and there are some issues with that, that would be a great first place to start, is to think through that list of people. And if you have somebody in mind, I would encourage you to at least book a call with Yemi and see if it makes sense to talk further. Yusuf, anything to add from maybe your perspective as somebody who actually works as a partner?
One of the things I wanted to point out is that this is a great way for you to accountants and bookkeepers and ProAdvisors to really test it out, because you do get not just a demo account to show your clients, but you also get a firm account that you can connect to your QBOA, so that you can really see and put it through its paces for your own practice. Yusuf, I stepped on your toes. Sorry.
No. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. Yeah, no, the only thing I wanted to add was when you enter the partner community for Method, don't feel like you're left there stranded. Like Yemi does a fantastic job of making you feel like, there's always going to be someone there. And she actually set up a channel where other partners that are pretty comfortable with Method will help out and answer any questions. So if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to be a Method partner yet because it's a lot of time and whatnot, just pull the trigger. Just go in there and see it. You'll be invited into a Slack community. Yemi will be there to onboard you smoothly. And she really does a great job of making sure that all your questions are answered. So yeah, that's all I want to add.
Yeah, it's and their training, the certification training is actually fun to watch. The person who puts who is the voice and facilitator behind the certification is engaging and snarky at the same time. So I approve.
Are you calling me out? Did I do something wrong?
No, none of that. All right. Well, I did throw up the last polling question while we were talking about that, and it looks like most people did get an opportunity to answer. But if you didn't, go ahead and wrap that up here. Madison and Yusuf and Sharon, thank you for joining us on the panel here today. Madison, any closing remarks?
No, not at all. Just thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Dan, thank you so much for having us, and Yusuf, Sharon, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm actually going to go sign up for the partner right now. I actually saved the link.
Excellent. So next week we'll be talking about navigating all of the, or next time, not next week, but in a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about navigating the revenue share options with QuickBooks and Intuit. And so we'll navigate all of those options next time on the QB Power Hour. So I appreciate you all joining us here today, and we'll see you in a couple weeks on the QB Power Hour. Have a great day, everyone.